network. Fox has been a big difference at Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along, and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, others are coming along, and people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
We're traveling all across America, talking to people about their hearts. How's the heart?
Good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? Let me show you something. Put 2 fingers right on those pads. Look at that. That's your heart.
That is pretty awesome.
With Cardio Mobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Cardio Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. Cardio Mobile is now available for just $79. Order at cardia.com or Amazon.
Attention former Marines and family members stationed to Camp Lejeune. If you lived or worked at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, for at least 30 days from August 1953 to December 1987 and have been diagnosed with cancer, neurobehavioral effects, had a child born with birth defects, or been diagnosed with fertility issues or more, significant compensation may be available. Call Legal Injury Advocates now to discuss your case. It has been proven that the water at Camp Lejeune during those years was extremely contaminated with toxic chemicals. Legal Injury Advocates has extensive experience helping you to get the maximum compensation you deserve. Don't wait until it's too late. See if you qualify today. You're not alone in this fight, and there are no upfront costs to begin your journey to justice. The call is completely free, and we're available 24 hours a day. Call Legal Injury Advocates to discuss your case now.
Call 1-800-362-2828 or visit www.lia.legal. That's 1-800-362-2828. Call now.
All right, we're counting down the minutes before President Trump takes the stage in Rome, Georgia for his Get Out the Vote rally, with concerns about his old age and mental state obviously continue to swirl, but it's not really an age issue at this point. Plenty of 80-year-olds have a lot of cognitive they don't have any cognitive issues, but we're seeing Joe Biden. It's up and down every single day. Now, Joe Biden today launched a new campaign ad in which he tries to tell Americans that his advanced age is a great thing. Take a look.
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret. But here's the deal. I understand how to get things done for the American people. I led the country through the COVID crisis. Today, we have the strongest economy in the world.
Soon after, the Trump campaign responded with an ad of their own.
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret.
Devastating right there. All right, joining us now to discuss, former Special Assistant to President Trump and Chief Communications Director at the America First Policy Institute, Mark Lauder. Also with us, Senior Advisor to the Trump 2024 campaign, Lynn Patton. Thank you so much for joining us. Mark, what do you think about these kind of dueling campaign ads? You know, you got Biden. He's now trying to tell us that his old age is a good thing, which I guess, I think they were trying to deny reality for so long. And then even Hillary Clinton came out and said, you know what? He is old. And everybody's saying he is old. Nobody cares about how old he is. It's about how he performs. And that's the question here, because we can't have somebody who's leading the free world and yet he's unable to drive himself to go buy his favorite ice cream cone.
Yeah, this ad that they're running is basically just it's throwing money away, because it's trying to convince the American people something that they don't believe, they don't see with their own eyes, whether it's that Joe Biden isn't old or is old but still cognitive, but also that the economy is good. When people are struggling and getting sticker shock when they go to the grocery store, the gas station, or try to order fast food for that matter, I mean, everything costs more. People feel less safe than they did. Our border is less secure. The world is at war. All of these things are Joe Biden's record, and it doesn't matter whether he's 81 or 61. His record stinks, and the American people don't like it.
Absolutely. And Lynn, he's trying to say that, he's full of vigor and strength. But just a couple of days ago, he once again showed us, Joe Biden, that he's kind of lost. Take a look.
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
What's your message for Super Tuesday voters?
Everyone please move this way.
Super Tuesday, sir, do you have a message for voters?
Thanks, come on.
Thank you so much.
I better not answer questions. Who is he going to get in trouble with? I mean, we've seen this kind of response, this kind of talk from Joe Biden so many times. Who do they think they're fooling at this point?
Absolutely. Well, Mark Lauder hit the nail on the head when he said no one. They're not fooling anyone. And I do want to start off by saying happy birthday to Kimberly Guilfoyle. I'm sorry if I'm a little glammed up tonight, but we're on our way to start her party. I'm actually sitting in her office right now doing this hit. But no, they're not fooling anyone. And I want to say, Lydia, that I think it's important to note that this past week has been tremendously bad for Democrats. This was not the contrast they wanted. If you remember, Judge Sessions originally set March 4th, Monday, March 4th, as his original start date for the January 6th trial. You know, they anticipated that derailing Donald Trump's Super Tuesday victories, and they could roll directly into a State of the Union where they continue to feign as defenders of democracy. Instead, what they ended up with was a unanimous Supreme Court defending Donald Trump's right to democracy, an avalanche of delegates on Super Tuesday that secured my boss's nomination for the Republican Party nominee, and tons of polls that now have him polling far, far above Biden in the very battleground states that they're both in today.
Well, you do look fabulous there. So happy birthday, Kimberly Guilfoyle. So
Yeah.
You're going to have a great time. You know, Mark, I think some people were anticipating Joe Biden to kind of stay in the basement like he did during the last campaign. What do you think about it? Let's take a listen to this.
I don't think he's doing a bad job as president. He can do the job. I don't think he can win the job because it's a grueling thing to run for president. It's really hard. And everybody said, yeah, well, he can't do what he did last time because there was a pandemic. Stay in his basement. Yes, he can. No one gives a shit about that. No, the chattering classes will talk about it, and the public will be, what do I care? I don't want to watch this all the time anyway.
I think he should be doing more interviews. He should be doing press conferences. He should actually be facing the press. No, he shouldn't. Why not? Why do you say no to that, though?
Because he up.
Well,
come on. You know, that's a terrible.
Hey, Bill Maher, he tells it like it is. He can't do it. I mean, that's why he's not out there, because obviously that would be the way to combat the narrative, the true narrative that Joe Biden is weak and feckless and simply not all there to handle the job. But he can't do it. You know, he can't do it. So what do you think? Should they put him back in the basement?
I don't think they have a choice. And let me tell you, I was on the 16 and the 20 campaigns, and I'm 30 years younger than Joe Biden. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how Donald Trump does it. He's got more energy than all of us. I can't keep up, and I'm getting too old for this. But look, you know, they've got to hide him because they can't trust him and put him out there. I mean, last night he was in Pennsylvania talking about running for Congress in Pennsylvania, and if he wants to, go for it. You know, run for Congress in Pennsylvania. You're not suited for the White House. I mean, the guy just, every time you put him out there, he struggles when he's not reading from the teleprompter. He looks confused. But despite all of that, I really struggles when he's not reading from the teleprompter. Don't want to vote for him. He looks confused. It is about the results. Despite all of that, I really struggles when he's not reading from the teleprompter.
Do you think he'll debate? Do you think he'll debate President Trump? President Trump is not out there. He said, I want to debate you guys. Let's do this. Do you think he'll debate? You've got ladies that he'll debate President Trump. President Trump is not out there. He said, I want to debate you guys. Do you think he'll debate? You've got ladies that he'll debate President Trump. President Trump is not out there. He said, I want to debate you guys. Do you think he'll debate?
Where they are right now with Donald Trump in the lead, Joe Biden has no choice but to debate. If for some reason in the next 8 months, Joe Biden takes
there to debate this advice. It's the groceries, whether it's illegal immigration, whether it's crime at the border. You know, we want people to vote their self-interest for once, and that all leads to Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And I do think, though, it'll tell the American people something very clear.
This is a story about the one. The one who keeps it all moving. He is measured, precise. He thinks ahead. stocks the right parts and knows just where to find them. Because for the one, this facility is about more than business. The industrial-grade products you need delivered fast. Call, click Grainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's the guy who said his trade-in was in perfect condition.
Well, what do you think?
Well, let's see here. It looks pretty nice on the outside. Oh, got a teeny tiny scratch right there, and whoa, game changer. You didn't tell me that you had WeatherTech floor liners?
Of course. I also have the cargo liner and seat protector.
I mean, the carpet looks brand new.
So what do you think of my trade-in now?
It just went up, way up.
Thought so.
Protect your investment. Order your American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Welcome back. I'm Lydia Serrani. We are just moments away from President Trump's rally from the Forum Center in Rome, Georgia. We got hundreds, maybe thousands of supporters. They are already anxiously awaiting the 45th president, maybe 47th. One of the most memorable moments during the Thursday State of the Union address was when Joe Biden was interrupted by a Gold Star father in the gallery. Take a look at this.
To state the obvious, all Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office. The year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then.
And that was Steve Nakui, father of U.S. Marine Kareem Nakui, 20-year-old, who was killed by a suicide bomber during Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Nakui was then subsequently arrested for disrupting the president, and now Republican lawmakers are calling for the charges to be dismissed. All right, joining me now, a pair of Marines to discuss this emotional outburst there. Newsmax contributor Jesse Jane Duff, also with us, Republican strategist John Elliott. Jesse Jane, what did you make of that outburst? I mean, I feel like you could almost feel his pain and feel his anguish because you have Joe Biden standing there at the podium telling the whole country, telling possibly the world that America is safer with him at the helm. We know that's not true. He knows that's not true. 13 service members were killed that fateful day, and it set the course for so many other disastrous events, world events. I mean, what do you think? If Joe Biden wasn't the president of the United States, would all of those people die that day? Would we have had the invasion of Ukraine? Would have there been the October 7th massacre in Israel? What do you think?
Of course not. You already know the answer. I know the answer, and American people know the answer. With Donald Trump in the White House, we had a more peaceful world, let alone our own country was more stable. But when you have a Marine father who was killed like that, that was such an awful day. I remember sobbing as I was driving home from the Sacramento airport, coincidentally, the very day that Sergeant Nicole G., who was also killed, the photo of the young woman who was carrying the baby, saying, "I love my job," was dead. And the streets were lined with signs welcoming her home. It told me her body was behind me, being escorted by 2 United States Marines, one a female officer, because she was probably one of the first female Marines in a very long time who had died in combatant activity. I would say that what really disappointed me about this State of this Union, among many things, was that he did not acknowledge the service members who had died on his watch. He did not acknowledge the servicemen and women, the 3 that died by the Iranian drone, let alone he didn't even mention Iran in this State of the Union, which is exactly the cause of what happened October 7th, and the Houthi attacks, Hezbollah attacks, and Hamas attacks. So he avoided all of that. So I can understand the frustration of Lance Corporal Nakui's father to scream it out because he didn't want his son and those who have died this past year to be forgotten as they were by Joe Biden.
And John Elliott, you know, President, there he is right there. I mean, such a young life, so tragically lost. You know, Joe Biden opened his address by discussing Ukraine and Putin. He also spoke about the, quote, innocent civilians killed in Gaza, the threat posed by Iran, as you just heard Jesse Jane mention, but nothing about the Afghanistan withdrawal. He claims to be this foreign policy expert. I mean, but is there anywhere that his policy has been a success?
Not at all, Lydia, and I think Jesse Jane hit right on it. I mean, this is a disgrace for somebody to have to shout out in the chamber to have his son recognized in some way, and he wasn't even mentioning it until that happened. And then for him to be arrested is an absolute disgrace. Look, this is something where it was Joe Biden's ignoring these families for so long. Do you remember when some of the families came, when a number of the Marines' remains came back, and he was at Dover Air Force Base and he was checking his watch the whole time while they were coming off the C-20 aircraft? So look, this is something that is an actual disaster in terms of the reputation that he has around the world. He had a botch. He didn't hold anybody accountable for that botched exit from Afghanistan. Look, if President Trump were there, we know that President Trump, hey, he's had some personnel issues where he hired the wrong person on the recommendation of someone. That's never going to happen in a second term because he's wise to it now. But he rolled heads. Look, Mattis was fired. Tillerson was fired. Look, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs was fired when they weren't living up to his standards. And look, President Biden has held no one on his team accountable. Look, the Secretary of Defense went missing for an entire week and didn't even tell the White House. And look, there was nothing, no accountability whatsoever, not even a peep out of President Biden. So talk about weak and woke on the world stage. That's exactly what President Biden is. And no matter how many amphetamines they give him to be able to shout at the union, at the State of the Union, it's just not, nobody's buying it, and it's just weakness across the world right now.
He didn't even know where his chairman of defense was for an entire week. Never mind, he doesn't know what's going on with the world. And then he was caught in a hot mic moment. Remember that hot mic moment after the State of the Union address? President Biden, he was speaking with Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, saying that he was hoping that the Bibi Netanyahu would have a come to Jesus moment. Jesse Jane, what do you make of that? That he's actually trying to blame Israel, blame Bibi for the chaos, for this war, when it was Hamas terrorists that came in and massacred all those people, including babies and women. What did you think of that hot mic moment?
My goodness, what a disgusting remark to make. If President Trump had made a remark like that to Benjamin Netanyahu, it would have been splashed over every left-leaning newspaper, let alone all the media would have covered it in a rage, including Newsmax, because it would have been so inappropriate. But here we are, only the conservative media, so to speak, and those that are delivering the truth, not trying to brainwash people into the success of Joe Biden, will air this, let alone we have those that put on the Hamas type, the Palestinian scarves, the Hamas scarves, Rashid Tlaib, and also Cori Bush wearing those right there. You're watching Democrats fully support terrorism. And what's even more disgusting out of all of this is that he's going to have the U.S. military in Gaza to build a port to get them humanitarian aid. My goodness, those airdrops are not enough. And now we saw Hamas lie about an airdrop killing, 2 or 3 civilians, which turned out to be a lie. Turns out the numbers by the Hamas Health Ministry, is there such a thing, by the way, have been reported as wrong and erroneous, the thousands of deaths they are reporting. Everything about this has been a facade, and Joe Biden has not been strong. He has been giving Israel a very weak yes instead of a solid yes, getting in there and supporting and destroying Hamas. It has been weak. And all that, he didn't even mention the U.S. hostages. There's 9 Americans that are still being held hostage, and he ignored that, whitewashed it, and there's 2 bodies of Americans that haven't been turned over by Hamas either.
Unbelievable. John Elliott, your reaction there to that hot mic moment?
Well, absolutely. I mean, he's talking about having the come to Jesus moment with Bibi Netanyahu, and Jesse Jane hit the nail on the head, is that what we're doing is a disgrace in terms of not supporting Israel to the hilt, because we're talking about, once again, as Jesse Jane pointed out, building a pier or a port there so we can give more humanitarian assistance. Look, the idea is that the fastest way to get peace in Gaza is to let the Israelis complete the mission, kill Hamas, and then have the Palestinians who are in Gaza elect a new government that is absolutely no Hamas whatsoever, because they'll be completely gone by then. And that's the way to do it. And that'll be the most humane or humanitarian gesture, is to make sure that Bibi has the latitude and that we give him the support to be able to to close with the enemy and kill them as soon as he can. And that's just the fact on the ground. For Biden to have a hot mic moment like that is just, look, it's not for him to be dictating anything other than support to Israel.
I think if anybody needs Jesus in his life, it's Joe Biden. John Elliott, Jesse Jane Duff, thank you so much for joining us. All right, any moment now, President Trump expected to take the stage there in Georgia. We will, of course, carry that speech for you live. We'll be right back.
It's totally fake news.
President Trump and the big media. It wasn't a love affair, but there was never a dull moment. Watch The Trump Wars, Fake News, on Newsmax TV.
Before being a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, first and foremost, we are Americans and we deserve better. Trump 2024. Let's spread the word and support the cause to save our nation from peril. We are Americans and we deserve better. Order now the We Are Americans hat, t-shirt, or hoodie at TEE-shirtsbydesign.com. Together, we can and will make a positive difference.
You work hard. You deserve a mobile bank that will go to work for you. With up to $200 in overdraft protection and early paydays, GoToBank, the mobile bank that works for you. Open an account at gotobank.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to bring you my Giza Dream bed sheets for the best offer ever. We're all experiencing unprecedented rising prices, but I was able to secure a limited amount of Giza cotton for a great price, and I'm going to pass those savings directly on to you. Get my Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98 with your promo code. They're the most luxurious sheets ever, made with the world's finest cotton. Grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River, where the weather conditions are perfect for growing cotton. My sheets are ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. I guarantee they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 50% on my Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.98. Quantities are extremely limited at these amazing prices, so please order now.
All right, we are just moments away from President Trump's rally from the Forum Center in Rome, Georgia. Hundreds, possibly thousands of supporters. They are awaiting the 45th president, possibly 47th. Joining us now, former Trump 2016 foreign policy advisor, George Papadopoulos. Also with us, Republican strategist, Nick Adams. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start off with you, George.
My lifetime has taught me to embrace freedom and democracy, a future based on core values that have defined America: honesty, decency, dignity, equality, to respect everyone, to give everyone a fair shot, to give hate no safe harbor. Now, other people my age see it differently. The American story of resentment, revenge, and retribution, that's not me.
George, that's not him. He's trying to kick the political opponent off the ballot, put him in prison, trying to bankrupt him. What do you think about that little line there?
Yeah, well, when I hear President Biden say that, I think he should remember that over 75 million Americans voted for President Trump. That's not simply a base, that's half of the electorate. So when you have the President of the United States during a State of the Union essentially condemning those voters and castigating the MAGA movement as a whole, and we've seen various reports of the FBI and other groups calling some of these folks supremacist groups, considering them domestic terrorist organizations. Women's parental rights, Catholics in this country have all been targeted. Basically, anybody who's a dissenter against the Democrat Party today is viewed as some sort of threat. So, of course, the Democrats have absolutely nothing whatsoever regarding policy to stand on. So they're going to engage in this robust effort of law.
Lydia, it's very clear that Joe Biden was under the impression that, correctly, that at least half of America, if not 3/4 of America, question whether or not he has a pulse. And so for that reason, he decided to pour all his efforts into making sure that everybody knew that, in fact, he did have a pulse. Show this fake performance of enthusiasm and passion and anger stuff. And you're right. Everything He's the one that is resentful. He's the one that hates and is seeking vengeance through the lawfare with incompetent. He's the one that is giving safe harbor to corruption like his son, Hunter Biden. He's the one that is doing all of the stuff that Americans... And so I think that the Biden, if all he wanted to do was prove that he could get up and mince his... He achieved that without falling down. But other than that, I think it was a very poor performance.
Absolutely. And I just want to warn you, too, that if I interrupt you, it's because we are awaiting President Trump. He's expected any moment now, any minute to come out there on the stage. Now, Joe Biden has also been trying to appeal to young voters. Obviously, this guy's been in office longer than so many people. Millions upon millions of voters have even been alive. And it's because of him that they don't have all of the advantages that maybe their parents would have had. They can't buy a home. They can't buy a car. They can barely afford their bills. I mean, let's take a listen to what Joe Biden had to say.
When I was told I couldn't universally just change the way in which we dealt with student loans,